Blood hit the marble floor before Naomi could scream. Dante didn't flinch. He simply wiped his knife on a napkin and turned to her with eyes like winter steel. $10,000, he said. Or you can pretend you didn't see that. The lounge smelled like money and lies. Naomi Carter moved through the crowd with a tray balanced on her palm, her black dress clinging to her frame, her feet screaming in heels, 2 sizes too small. Around her, Manhattan's elite laughed too loud, drank too much, and never once looked her in the eye. She was furniture. Expensive, polished, disposable. Excuse me, sweetheart. A man in a $5,000 suit slurred, grabbing her wrist. How about you sit on my lap and tell me what else is on the menu? Naomi's stomach turned. She smiled anyway. I'll get your next round, sir. His friends erupted in laughter as she pulled free. Breathe, smile, survive. That was the job. By midnight, her shift should have ended. Instead, Marcus, the floor manager with slicked back hair and a perpetual sneer, cornered her near the service elevator. VIP suite, top floor, now. Naomi frowned. I'm off in 10 minutes. You're off when I say you're off. His eyes traveled down her body with oily satisfaction. Private client. Very exclusive. Don't embarrass me. She wanted to tell him where to shove his exclusive client. She needed the money more. The elevator rose in silence, her reflection staring back at her in the polished brass doors. Tired eyes, dark curls escaping her bun, lipstick fading. 24 years old and already exhausted by a life that hadn't even started yet. The doors opened. The penthouse suite stretched before her like something out of a fever dream. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Manhattan skyline, snow drifting past the glass like ghosts. The furniture was black leather and sharp edges. A crystal decanter sat untouched on the bar. And standing near the window, hands in his pockets, was the most dangerous man she'd ever seen. He didn't turn when she entered. Naomi cleared her throat. Good evening, sir. I'm here to... Close the door. His voice was smooth, low, edged with an accent that curled around consonants like smoke. She hesitated. Close it, Naomi. Her breath caught. He knew her name. The door clicked shut behind her. Now he turned. Dante Moretti looked like he'd been carved from marble and violence. Mid-30s, maybe. Dark hair swept back from a face that could sell cologne or commit murder with equal ease. His suit was tailored to perfection, black, crisp, expensive enough to feed her for a year. But it was the tattoo that stopped her cold. A sharp geometric design that climbed from beneath his collar up the side of his neck, bold and unapologetic. His eyes were darker than the December night outside. You don't know who I am, he said. It wasn't a question, but Naomi shook her head anyway. No, sir. A ghost of a smile touched his mouth. Good. He gestured to the leather sofa. Sit. Every instinct screamed at her to run. She sat. Dante poured 2 glasses of whiskey without asking if she drank. He handed her one, then settled into the chair across from her, legs crossed, posture relaxed in a way that made her more nervous, not less. You've worked here how long? He asked. 8 months. You're good at being invisible. Naomi stiffened. I do my job. I didn't say it was a bad thing. He sipped his whiskey, gaze never leaving her face. In my world, invisibility is survival. She had no idea what that meant. I need something from you, Dante continued. And before you assume the worst, it's not what men usually want from women who look like you. Heat flushed her cheeks. Then what? A sharp knock interrupted her. Dante's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered behind his eyes. Stay seated. Don't move. Don't speak. The door opened. A man stepped inside, shorter, stockier, with a scar slicing through his left eyebrow. He wore a cheap suit and cheaper cologne. His gaze landed on Naomi, lingered too long, then shifted to Dante. We need to talk, the man said in a thick Brooklyn accent. Dante set down his glass. Then talk, Polly. Not in front of her. She's nobody. Talk. Polly's jaw worked. Sal ain't happy about the shipment. Says you're cutting him out. Says you're getting ambitious. Sal says a lot of things. He wants his money, Dante. Then he should have delivered what he promised. The temperature in the room dropped. Polly took a step forward. You think you're untouchable? You think because your old man runs 3 boroughs, you can. Dante moved. 1 second he was seated. The next, he had Polly slammed against the wall, forearm pressed to the man's throat, a knife where the hell had the knife come from, glinting in his other hand. Naomi's glass slipped from her fingers. Whiskey pooled on the marble floor. Tell Sal, Dante said quietly. pressing the blade just beneath Polly's jaw. That if he wants to discuss business, he can call me directly. If he sends another errand boy into my space, I'll send him back in pieces. Polly's face turned purple. You're making a mistake. I don't make mistakes. Dante released him. Polly stumbled, gasping, hand at his throat. Blood trickled from where the knife had kissed. Skin not deep, just a promise. He looked at Naomi one last time, eyes wild with humiliation and rage, then fled. The door slammed. Silence swallowed the room. Naomi couldn't breathe. Dante turned to her, slipping the knife back into his jacket, like it was normal, like he'd just adjusted his tie and picked up his whiskey as if nothing had happened. You're still here, he observed. Her voice cracked. What the hell was that? Business. That was you could have killed him. I didn't, but you could have. Dante studied her, something almost curious in his gaze. Does that frighten you? Yes. Good. Fear keeps you smart. He sat back down, utterly calm. Now, where were we? Naomi's hands were shaking. You said you needed something from me. I do. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, fingers steepled. I need a date for Christmas. She blinked. What? My family is traditional. Every year, we gather at my father's estate in New Jersey. It's expected that I bring someone respectable, someone who doesn't know my world well enough to be compromised by it. Naomi's mind was still stuck on the blood. You want me to pretend to be your girlfriend? Yes, for Christmas dinner. 3 days. Christmas Eve through the 26th. She laughed a short, hysterical sound. You're insane. Probably. He didn't smile. You'll be compensated. $10,000. The number hit her like a slap. $10,000. 6 months of rent, her mother's medical bills, the student loans that strangled her in her sleep. She swallowed. That's a lot of money. It's also non-negotiable. You accept, or you walk out of here and forget we ever met. Naomi's heart hammered. And if I say no, then you say no. Dante's gaze was steady, unreadable. I won't hurt you, Naomi. I'm not offering you anything you don't want to give. But I am offering you a way out of whatever hell you're living in downstairs. The truth of it cut deep. She thought of Marcus's leering smile, the endless shifts, the empty bank account, the calls from debt collectors. She couldn't answer. Why me? She whispered. Dante's expression softened just barely. Because you don't know who I am. Because you're invisible. And because when that door opened and violence walked in, you didn't scream. You stayed. I was terrified. But you stayed. Something in his voice made her chest tighten. 3 days, she repeated. 3 days. And then what? Then you walk away $10,000 richer, and we never see each other again. It sounded simple. It sounded like a lie. Naomi met his eyes, those dark, fathomless eyes that had watched a man bleed without flinching. Okay, she heard herself say. I'll do it. Dante smiled. It was the most dangerous thing she'd ever seen. Good, he said softly. Because, Naomi Carter, you just became mine for Christmas. And somewhere deep in her bones, she knew she'd just made a deal with the devil himself. The Italian Mafia boss hired a waitress for Christmas. Then he claimed her and never let her go. Chapter 2. The Arrangement. The black Mercedes idled outside her apartment building at 7 a.m., gleaming like a threat against the gray December morning. Naomi stood on the cracked sidewalk with a duffel bag slung over her shoulder, watching her breath fog in the cold air. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the knife at Polly's throat, heard the quiet menace in Dante's voice. You just became mine for Christmas. The rear door opened. Dante sat inside, pristine in a charcoal suit, reading something on his phone. He didn't look up when she climbed in, didn't acknowledge her presence until the driver pulled into traffic. Good morning, he said finally, setting the phone aside. Morning. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. His gaze swept over her jeans, worn winter coat, no makeup. We'll fix that. Heat flared in her cheeks. Excuse me? You're beautiful, Naomi. But you don't look like someone I'd bring home. He handed her a leather folder. Our story. Memorize it. She opened the folder. Inside, documents, photographs, a fabricated timeline of their relationship. Met at a charity gala 6 months ago. You're a graduate student in art history. Your father was a professor. Your mother died when you were young. You're cultured, educated, appropriately ambitious. None of it was true. I'm not lying to your family about my mother, Naomi said quietly. She's alive. She has early onset Alzheimer's. That's why I need the money. Something flickered across Dante's face. Surprise, maybe respect. Then we adjust the story. Your mother is ill. You work to support her care. That's honorable. They'll accept it. She studied the timeline again. Dates, places, intimate details designed to sell the illusion they were in love. What about physical affection? She asked. Dante's jaw tightened. What about it? If we're supposed to be dating, your family will expect. She trailed off, suddenly aware of how small the car felt, how close he was. I'll touch you when necessary, Dante said, his tone carefully neutral. Hold your hand. Put my arm around you. Nothing more unless you consent. And if they ask about, they won't. His eyes darkened. My family doesn't discuss those matters. They'll judge you on how you carry yourself, how you handle pressure, whether you embarrass me. Pass those tests, and you're safe. The word safe hung between them like a joke. The car stopped in front of a building in the Diamond District. Dante led her inside, past security, into an elevator that required a key card. They rose in silence to the 20th floor. The doors opened onto a private salon. A woman with platinum hair and sharp cheekbones appraised Naomi like she was a sculpture in progress. This is her. This is Naomi, Dante confirmed. You have 4 hours, Vivienne. I'll need 6. You have 4. Vivienne's smile was all teeth. Then we'd better get started. What followed was a transformation that felt like erasure. Haircut, colored, styled into soft waves that framed her face. Makeup applied with surgical precision, smoky eyes, sculpted cheekbones, lips that looked bitten and swollen. Nails manicured, skin buffed and polished until she glowed. Then the clothes, dresses in midnight blue and champagne silk, cashmere sweaters, tailored trousers, shoes that cost more than her rent. Every piece fit perfectly, like they'd been made for her body. How did you know my size? Naomi asked. Vivienne didn't look up from the jewelry she was selecting. Mr. Moretti is very thorough. When it was done, Naomi stood before the mirror and didn't recognize herself. The woman staring back was polished, elegant, expensive. She looked like she belonged in Dante's world. She looked like a lie. Dante returned as Vivienne packed away her tools. He stopped in the doorway, his expression unreadable. Well? Naomi asked, hating how much she wanted his approval. He crossed the room slowly, circling her like a predator evaluating prey. Then he reached out, his fingers brushing a strand of hair away from her face. You'll do, he said softly, but his eyes told a different story. His eyes said mine. In the car again, heading toward New Jersey, Dante gave her the final briefing. My father, Salvatore Moretti, built this empire from nothing. He's ruthless, calculating, and despises weakness. Don't try to charm him. He'll see through it. Be respectful but not submissive. He respects strength. Naomi's stomach twisted. What about your mother? Isabella Moretti is the most dangerous person you'll meet. Dante's voice held something close to admiration. She appears refined, gracious, traditional. She's killed 3 men with her own hands. Never underestimate her. Jesus Christ, Naomi whispered. There's no Christ where we're going. His smile was grim. My younger brother Luca is charming and reckless. Stay away from him. My sister Gianna will try to befriend you to extract information. Be polite but guarded. This is insane. This is my family. Naomi turned to look at him, really look at him. Why are you doing this? Why not just bring someone from your world? Dante was quiet for a long moment. Because everyone in my world wants something from me. Power, money, protection, access. You're the first person in years who looked at me and saw danger instead of opportunity. I do see danger. Exactly. He met her gaze. You're here for a transaction, nothing more. That's the only honest thing in my life right now. The vulnerability in his voice caught her off guard. 3 days, she said, more to herself than to him. 3 days, Dante echoed. But as the car crossed into New Jersey, past security checkpoints and through gates that closed like jaws behind them, Naomi felt the weight of a truth she couldn't name. 3 days would never be enough to walk away from Dante Moretti, and somehow, she already knew he wouldn't let her try. The Moretti estate rose from the snow like a fortress built to withstand wars. Stone and iron, security cameras tracking every angle, men in dark suits stationed at intervals, their weapons barely concealed, gardens frozen beneath December, ice stretched toward woods that looked like they'd swallowed secrets. Naomi's hands trembled in her lap. Dante noticed. His fingers closed over hers, warm, steady, possessive. "Breathe," he murmured. "You're mine now. No one touches what's mine." The word mine should have terrified her. Instead, it anchored her. The car stopped before massive front doors. Dante stepped out first, then offered his hand. Naomi took it, letting him pull her into the cold. The doors opened. Isabella Moretti stood framed in golden light, draped in ivory silk, her dark hair swept into an elegant chignon. She was beautiful the way a blade was beautiful, refined, lethal, designed to cut. Her gaze moved over Naomi with surgical precision. "Dante," she said, her accent melodic and dangerous. "You're late. Traffic." He didn't release Naomi's hand. "Mama, this is Naomi Carter." Isabella's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Welcome to our home, Naomi. I've heard nothing about you." The jab landed smoothly. Naomi forced herself to meet Isabella's gaze. "Then I hope to make a good first impression, Mrs. Moretti. We'll see." Inside, the estate was opulent brutality, marble floors polished to mirrors, Renaissance paintings in gilded frames, chandeliers dripping crystal like frozen tears. Every surface whispered wealth and violence in equal measure. Salvatore Moretti waited in the great room, a man in his 60s with silver hair and eyes like winter stone. He sat in a leather chair positioned like a throne, a glass of wine in his hand, radiating absolute authority. He didn't stand when they entered. "So," he said, his voice carrying the weight of empires. "This is the girl." Dante's grip on Naomi's hand tightened. "This is Naomi." Salvatore's gaze stripped her bare. "Sit." They sat on the sofa across from him. Isabella settled beside her husband, the perfect picture of unified power. "Tell me about yourself, Naomi," Salvatore said. It wasn't a request. "I'm a graduate student," Naomi began, keeping her voice steady. "Art history. I work to support my mother's medical care. Your father? Died when I was 12. Heart attack. Unfortunate." No sympathy in his tone. "What does your mother suffer from?" "Early onset Alzheimer's." Isabella's expression shifted, something almost human flickering beneath the ice. "That must be difficult." "It is. And yet you found time to pursue my son." The trap snapped shut. Naomi felt Dante tense beside her. She chose her words carefully. "I didn't pursue Dante, Mrs. Moretti. He pursued me." Salvatore's eyebrow lifted. "Is that so?" "Yes." Naomi met his gaze without flinching. "I was working. He made an impression. We've been seeing each other since." "What kind of impression?" Heat crawled up her neck. The kind that made it impossible to say no. Dante's thumb stroked across her knuckles. Approval, warning, possession. Salvatore leaned forward. "Do you know what my son does, Naomi?" Her heart hammered. "He's an import-export. Is that what he told you?" "Yes." "And you believe him?" The room held its breath. Naomi looked at Dante, his jaw tight, his eyes burning with something fierce, then back at Salvatore. "I believe," she said carefully, "that Dante tells me what I need to know, and I trust him to protect me from what I don't." Silence crashed through the room. Then Salvatore smiled. It was terrifying. "She's smart," he said to Dante. "Smarter than the last 3 you brought here." Isabella rose gracefully. "Dinner is at 8. Naomi, I'll have someone show you to your room." "She stays with me," Dante said flatly. His mother's eyes glittered. "Dante, she stays with me." The challenge hung in the air. Finally, Salvatore waved a hand. "Let him have this, Isabella. Young love and all that." The dismissal was clear. Dante pulled Naomi to her feet, his arm sliding around her waist, possessive, protective, unyielding. He led her through corridors lined with family portraits, past security stationed like sentries, up a grand staircase to the east wing. His suite was masculine luxury, dark wood, leather, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the frozen grounds. A fireplace crackled with fresh flames. The door closed behind them. Naomi exhaled, her legs threatening to give out. "You did well," Dante said, shrugging out of his jacket. "I lied to your parents." "No. You survived them." He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed her one. "That's different." She drank, letting the burn ground her. "Your mother wanted to gut me." "My mother wants to gut everyone." Something almost fond crossed his face. "But she'll accept you. You didn't cower. You didn't try to manipulate. You held your ground. And your father?" Dante's expression darkened. "My father respects strength and despises weakness. You showed him you're not afraid to stand beside me." That's all he needed to see. Naomi set down her glass, suddenly aware of how close they were, how the firelight painted shadows across his face. "This feels real," she whispered. His jaw tightened. "It's not. Then why does your hand shake when you touch me?" Dante went very still. Then he reached out, his fingers tracing the line of her jaw, tilting her face toward his. His touch was gentle, reverent, nothing like the violence she'd seen him capable of. "Because," he said, his voice rough, "you're the first thing I've wanted in years that isn't built on blood and power." Her breath caught. "Dante," a gunshot shattered the window. Glass exploded inward. Dante moved with lethal speed, tackling Naomi to the floor, covering her body with his as bullets tore through the room. Outside, men were shouting. More gunfire erupted, automatic weapons, controlled bursts, chaos descending like hell unleashed. Dante's weight pressed her into the carpet, his breath hot against her ear. "Stay down," he growled. "Don't move. Don't make a sound." Naomi's heart thundered. She could feel his heart racing against her back, could smell gunpowder and expensive cologne in fear. The shooting stopped. Dante lifted his head, eyes scanning the room with predatory focus. Then he was pulling her up, dragging her toward the bathroom, locking them inside the marble sanctuary. He pressed his phone, barking orders in rapid Italian. Naomi's hands were shaking. "What's happening?" "Rivals testing our defenses." His voice was ice and fury. "They wanted to send a message. They almost killed us." Dante's eyes met hers, dark, feral, absolutely unafraid. "Welcome to my world, Naomi. This is what you signed up for." And as footsteps thundered through the hallways and men shouted orders and the estate transformed into a war zone, Naomi realized the terrifying truth. She didn't want to run. She wanted to stay. The estate locked down like a prison. Armed guards swept every corridor. Security footage was reviewed. Salvatore Moretti issued orders with cold precision, while Isabella coordinated responses with the efficiency of a general commanding troops. Naomi sat in Dante's suite, wrapped in his jacket, watching him pace like a caged predator. "They breached the perimeter," he said into his phone, his Italian sharp and furious. "I want names. I want locations. I want them bleeding by morning." He ended the call, his hand flexing around the phone like he wanted to crush it. "Dante," Naomi said softly. He stopped, his gaze snapping to her. For a moment, she saw past the control, saw rage and fear, and something raw that made her chest ache. "You could have died," he said. "So could you. That's different." "Why?" His jaw worked. "Because I'm used to it." Naomi stood, crossing to him slowly. "That doesn't make it okay. Nothing about my life is okay." He turned away, staring out the repaired window at the grounds below. "I was 8 the first time I saw my father kill a man. 13 when he put a gun in my hand and made me choose, pull the trigger or die. I've been surviving this world so long I forgot what it's like to want to live in it." The confession hung between them. Naomi moved closer, her hand hovering near his shoulder. "Then why bring me here? Why risk involving someone who doesn't belong?" Dante's laugh was bitter. "Because I'm selfish. Because for 3 days, I wanted to pretend I could have something normal, something clean, something that wasn't stained with blood." "I'm not clean," Naomi said quietly. "I'm broke, desperate, and lying to your family. I took your money knowing exactly what you are." He turned, his eyes searching hers. "And what am I, Naomi? Dangerous." She didn't flinch. Broken, beautiful. His breath caught. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because it makes me want things I can't have." The air between them thickened. Naomi could feel the heat radiating from his body, could see the way his control was fracturing. "What do you want?" she whispered. Dante's hand lifted, his fingers threading through her hair, tilting her face toward his. His touch was gentle, almost reverent, so different from the violence she knew he was capable of. "Something real," he admitted. "Even if it's only for a moment." His mouth hovered over hers, close enough that she could feel his breath. "Tell me to stop," he murmured. Naomi's heart raced. "No," he kissed her. It wasn't soft, it wasn't tentative. It was consuming his mouth, claiming hers with a hunger that felt like years of starvation finally breaking. His hand slid to her waist, pulling her against him, and Naomi gasped, her fingers clutching his shirt. This was madness. This was inevitable. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers, his breathing ragged. "This isn't part of the arrangement," he said. "I know. It should stop here. I know." Neither of them moved apart. A knock shattered the moment. Dante's entire demeanor shifted control, slamming back into place like armor. He stepped away from Naomi, his expression wiped clean. "Enter," Luca Moretti walked in younger than Dante by a few years, with the same dark eyes but a reckless charm that felt like a blade hidden in silk. "Brother," he said, his gaze sliding to Naomi with open curiosity. "You've been holding out on us. What do you want, Luca?" "Father wants everyone downstairs." "Family meeting." His smile sharpened. "Seems tonight's excitement requires discussion." Dante's jaw tightened. "We'll be down. Don't keep him waiting." Luca's gaze lingered on Naomi. "He's in a killing mood." When he left, Dante turned to Naomi. "Stay close to me. Don't speak unless spoken to. And whatever you hear tonight, forget it the moment you leave this house." "Dante, I mean it, Naomi." His eyes burned into hers. "The things my family discusses, they're not for civilians. They're not for you. Then maybe I shouldn't be here." "Too late." His hand cupped her cheek. "You're already in this. Now I have to keep you alive." The weight of those words settled over her like a shroud. Downstairs, the Moretti family gathered in Salvatore's study, a room lined with books and weapons, opulence and death living side by side. Isabella sat with perfect posture, her hands folded. Luca lounged against the bar, drink in hand. Gianna, Dante's younger sister, with sharp eyes and sharper ambition, perched on the arm of a chair, watching everything. Salvatore stood at his desk, fury radiating from him like heat. "The Calabrese family," he said, his voice cutting through the room, "has declared war." The temperature dropped. "They hit 3 of our operations tonight," Salvatore continued. "Burned 2 warehouses, killed 4 of our men, and they breached this estate, my home, to send a message." "What message?" Dante asked, his voice deadly calm. Salvatore's smile was vicious. "That they think we're weak, that they think transition of power makes us vulnerable." His gaze landed on Dante. "They're testing you, son, seeing if you're ready to inherit what I've built." Dante's expression didn't change, but Naomi felt him tense beside her. "Then we respond," Dante said simply. "Hard, fast, no mercy." "Agreed." Salvatore looked at Luca. "You'll coordinate the counterstrike. I want the Calabrese bleeding by dawn." Luca's grin was feral. "With pleasure." "And Dante," Salvatore continued, "you'll handle the political fallout. Reach out to our contacts. Make sure the authorities stay blind." "Done." Naomi felt sick. They were discussing murder, warfare, destruction as casually as planning a dinner menu. This was Dante's world. This was the man she'd kissed. Isabella's gaze found her. "Naomi, dear, perhaps you should retire. This conversation isn't suitable for guests." It was a dismissal, a test, a trap. Dante's hand found hers under the table, squeezing once. Naomi stood. "Of course, Mrs. Moretti. Thank you for your hospitality." She walked out with her spine straight, her heart hammering, feeling their eyes on her like knives. In the hallway, she finally let herself breathe. She'd just witnessed a Mafia family planning retaliation. She was an accomplice now, and God help her she didn't want to leave. Naomi packed her bag at dawn. She'd barely slept, her mind racing with everything she'd witnessed: the gunfire, the violence, the cold calculation in Salvatore's eyes when he ordered men to die. This wasn't a game. This wasn't a romantic fantasy. This was a world built on blood, and she didn't belong in it. She had to leave. The estate was quiet as she slipped through the corridors, her duffel bag over her shoulder. Most of the family would still be sleeping. Dante had left hours ago to handle whatever dark business his father had assigned him. She could slip away, call an Uber, disappear. She reached the main entrance, her hand on the door. "Going somewhere?" Naomi froze. Dante stood at the base of the grand staircase, still dressed in last night's clothes, his hair disheveled, exhaustion carved into his face. But his eyes, those dark, devastating eyes, burned with something dangerous. "I can't do this," Naomi said, her voice breaking. "I can't pretend anymore." "Pretend what?" "That this is okay, that I belong here, that I can survive in your world." Dante descended the stairs slowly, each step deliberate. "You survived last night. Barely, but you did." He stopped in front of her, close enough that she could smell gunpowder and exhaustion on him. "You didn't scream. You didn't panic. You held your ground." "Because I was terrified." "Fear doesn't make you weak, Naomi. It makes you smart." His hand lifted, fingers tracing her jaw. "And you're smart enough to know what happens if you walk out that door." Her breath hitched. "You'll let me go. That was the deal." "The deal is irrelevant." His voice dropped, rough and raw. "The moment bullets flew through that window, everything changed. You're not just a transaction anymore. You're a target." "What?" The Calabrese family saw you with me. They know you're here. If you leave now, if you go back to your apartment, your old life, they'll use you to get to me. Horror crashed through her. You're lying. I wish I was. Dante's hand slid to her neck, his thumb pressing against her racing pulse. You're in this now, whether you want to be or not. Then protect me from a distance. Send guards. I don't need to stay here. Guards can be killed. Distance can be breached. His forehead pressed to hers. The only way I can keep you safe is if you stay beside me. This is insane. This is my reality. His voice cracked. And I'm sorry, God, Naomi. I'm so fucking sorry, but I can't let you go. Tears burned her eyes. You don't own me, Dante. I know. His lips brushed her forehead, gentle, devastating. But I will destroy anyone who tries to hurt you. I will burn the world down before I let them touch you. That's not ownership. That's... He stopped, his jaw clenching. That's what? Naomi whispered. His eyes met hers, raw and unguarded. That's what it feels like to care about someone more than yourself. The confession shattered something inside her. She should run. She should scream. She should fight her way out of this nightmare. Instead, she dropped her bag. 3 days, she said, her voice shaking. You promised me 3 days. After that, you find another way to keep me safe. You don't get to hold me hostage because you've decided you care. Dante's hand tightened on her neck. And if I can't let you go after 3 days? Then you're no better than the men you kill. The words hit like a slap. For a moment, she thought he'd argue, thought he'd break. Instead, he kissed her. It was desperate, consuming, tasting like goodbye, and forever, all at once. His hands framed her face, holding her like she might disappear, and Naomi kissed him back with everything she had, all her fear and fury, and the terrifying realization that she was falling for a man who could destroy her. When they broke apart, both breathless, Dante rested his forehead against hers. 3 days, he agreed roughly. Then I'll find a way. But they both knew he was lying. Christmas Eve descended on the estate like a dream wrapped in danger. The dining room glittered with crystal and candlelight. A tree towered in the corner, draped in gold and crimson. The table stretched beneath the weight of Italian opulence, course after course of food prepared by chefs who'd traveled from Sicily for this occasion. Naomi sat beside Dante, his hand possessive on her thigh beneath the table, his thumb stroking absent patterns through the silk of her dress. She looked the part now, diamond earrings borrowed from Isabella, hair swept into an elegant twist, makeup flawless, but underneath the costume, her heart raced with the knowledge that she was playing a role in a production that could get her killed. Salvatore raised his glass. To family, to blood, to the empire we've built and the legacy we'll leave. Salute, the table echoed. Naomi sipped her wine, the taste bitter on her tongue. Beside her, Dante was coiled tension beneath expensive fabric. She could feel the weight of his gun holstered against his ribs, could see the way his eyes tracked every person who entered the room. You're tense, she murmured. Something's wrong. His voice was barely audible. Security reported movement on the north perimeter. Could be nothing. Or, his jaw tightened. Or the Calabrese family is stupider than I thought. Dinner progressed with forced normalcy. Isabella held court with elegant conversation. Luca charmed everyone with reckless stories. Gianna watched Naomi with calculating interest. But Naomi couldn't shake the feeling that they were all waiting for something. At 11:30, Salvatore announced midnight mass in the estate's private chapel. A tradition, Isabella explained as they moved through the corridors. Christmas mass, then exchange of gifts. It's how we've always done things. The chapel was intimate, beautiful stained glass windows depicting saints and sinners, candles flickering like prayers. The family settled into pews, the priest beginning his sermon in Italian. Naomi understood none of it, but she understood the way Dante's hand tightened on hers. She understood the way his eyes kept darting to the doors. She understood that something was coming. At 11:58, it arrived. The chapel doors exploded inward. Men in black masks flooded inside, automatic weapons raised, shouting in Italian. The priest dove behind the altar. Isabella screamed actual fear in her voice for the first time. Salvatore was moving, pulling a gun from inside his jacket. Dante tackled Naomi to the floor. Gunfire erupted, deafening, chaotic, turning the holy space into a war zone. Bullets shredded pews, glass shattered, blood sprayed across marble. Naomi couldn't breathe. Dante's weight crushed her against the floor, his body a shield between her and hell. Stay down, he growled. Then he was moving, rolling away, pulling his own weapon, returning fire with lethal precision. Naomi watched in horror as Dante became something else. Not the man who'd kissed her with tenderness. Not the man who'd confessed he was broken. This was the heir to an empire built on violence. He moved like death incarnate, controlled, efficient, brutal. Every shot found its mark. Men fell. Blood pooled. Luca fought beside him, laughing as he killed. Salvatore coordinated defense with cold calculation. Even Isabella had a gun, her elegant hands steady as she fired. This was the Moretti family. This was their truth. One of the attackers broke through the chaos, heading straight for the altar for Salvatore. Without thinking, Naomi screamed, "Behind you." Salvatore turned, fired. The man dropped, but another was there, gun raised at Dante's back. Naomi ran. She didn't think, didn't plan. Just moved, throwing herself toward Dante as the gunshot cracked through the air. Pain exploded in her shoulder. She hit the ground hard, the world tilting, blood hot against her skin. Dante's roar was inhuman. The next moments blurred more gunfire, screaming, then silence so absolute it felt like death. Hands on her face. Dante's voice, ragged and broken. "Naomi, Naomi, look at me." She blinked up at him. His face was spattered with blood, not his own. His eyes were wild with fear. "You're shot," he said. Why did you run?" "He was going to kill you," she whispered. "So you took the bullet instead?" "Yes." Something shattered in his expression. He lifted her carefully, carrying her through the carnage. Bodies littered the chapel. The Moretti family stood among them alive, furious, triumphant. "Get the doctor," Dante barked. "Now." In his suite, a man with steady hands cut away her dress, cleaned the wound. "Through and through," he said in accented English. "Missed anything vital?" "She's lucky." "Lucky," Dante repeated flatly. The doctor stitched her up, gave her something for the pain. When he left, Dante sank to his knees beside the bed, his head dropping to her lap. "You could have died," he said, his voice wrecked. "So could you." Naomi's fingers threaded through his hair. "That's why I ran." He lifted his head, eyes red-rimmed. "I can't lose you. You barely know me. I know enough." He stood, his hands framing her face. "I know you're brave. I know you're fierce. I know you ran into gunfire to save my life. I know." His voice broke. "I know I'm in love with you." Naomi's breath stopped. "You can't be." "I am." His thumbs brushed away her tears. "I fell in love with you the moment you sat across from me in that penthouse and didn't flinch. I fell harder when you faced my family and refused to break. And tonight, when you threw yourself in front of a bullet meant for me," he kissed her. It tasted like blood and survival and desperate truth. "I love you," he whispered against her lips. "And I'm never letting you go." Naomi pulled him closer, ignoring the pain in her shoulder. "Then don't. 3 days is over, Naomi. I know. This is forever. I know. Say it." His eyes burned into hers. "Say you're mine." Naomi smiled through her tears. "I'm yours, Dante Moretti, and you're mine." He kissed her again, softer this time, like a promise, like a prayer, like the beginning of something neither of them could stop. Outside, Christmas morning broke over the estate, and inside Dante's arms, Naomi Carter found something she'd stopped believing in. Home. The declaration came at breakfast. Christmas morning sun streamed through the dining room windows. The table was set with fresh flowers despite last night's violence. The family gathered, battered but unbroken, their enemies dead or fleeing. Naomi sat beside Dante, her shoulder bandaged beneath a borrowed sweater, his hand never leaving hers. Salvatore studied them over his coffee. "You took a bullet for my son. It wasn't a question." "Yes, sir," Naomi said. "Why?" She met his gaze steadily. "Because I love him." The silence was absolute. Isabella set down her fork carefully. Luca stopped mid-sip. Gianna's eyes widened. Dante's hand tightened on Naomi's. "Love," Salvatore repeated, testing the word. "In my world, love is a weakness. It's leverage. It's how enemies destroy you. In my world," Naomi said quietly, "love is the only thing worth dying for." Something shifted in Salvatore's expression, not softening. "Exactly, but recognition." "You're no longer a guest here, Naomi Carter," he said finally. "If you stay with my son, you become family. That means protection, but it also means loyalty. You protect our secrets. You defend our name. You accept the consequences of the life we live." Naomi swallowed. "I understand. Do you?" Isabella's voice was sharp. Do you understand that enemies will use you against him? That you'll be a target for the rest of your life? That your children, if you have them, will inherit this war? Dante's jaw clenched. Mama, let her answer, Isabella said. Naomi looked at Dante, his dark eyes, his scarred hands, the tattoo climbing his neck. She thought of the violence she'd witnessed, the danger she'd survived, the bullet she'd taken. She thought of his confession. I'm in love with you. I understand, she said firmly. And I'm staying. Salvatore nodded slowly. Then you have my blessing. Dante exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for hours. There will be a formal announcement, Salvatore continued. The families need to know that Dante Moretti has claimed a woman under our protection. It sends a message. What message? Naomi asked. Salvatore's smile was cold. That anyone who touches you answers to us. That afternoon, Dante took Naomi to the estate's library, a sanctuary of leather and old books, quiet and warm. This changes everything, he said, pulling her into his arms carefully, mindful of her injury. I know. You can't go back to your old life. Your apartment, your job, none of that is safe now. I know. He studied her face. You're not afraid. I'm terrified, Naomi admitted, but I'm more terrified of walking away from you. His kiss was gentle, reverent. I'll protect you. I'll build you a life where you're safe. Stop. She pressed her fingers to his lips. I don't need you to build me a life. I need you to let me build one beside you. Something fierce and proud flared in his eyes. My fierce Naomi, he murmured. Your stubborn Naomi. Mine. The word settled between them like a vow. Over the next days, changes swept through the estate. Salvatore began restructuring operations, identifying which businesses were too violent, too risky. If my son's future includes a family, he said, then we make adjustments. Luca grumbled about going soft. Isabella started teaching Naomi the unspoken rules of their world, who to trust, who to fear, how to survive, family politics. You're an outsider marrying in, Isabella said over tea. That makes you both vulnerable and valuable. The families will test you. Some will try to use you against Dante. You must be smarter than all of them. Gianna, surprisingly, became an ally. I like you, she said bluntly. You're not fake, and you made my brother human again. The announcement went out through their networks. Dante Moretti has claimed Naomi Carter. She is under Moretti protection. Any threat against her is a declaration of war. The response was immediate alliances acknowledging the claim, rivals calculating how to exploit it, everyone recognizing that Dante's heart was no longer his own weakness. It was his greatest strength. Late one night, wrapped in Dante's arms, Naomi whispered, I shot someone. He stilled. What? During the attack, I picked up a gun. Someone was coming through the door. I didn't think. I just pulled the trigger. His hand stroked through her hair. Did it hit? I don't know. Everything happened so fast. Good, he said softly. That hesitation could save your soul. She twisted to look at him. Does it bother you? That I might have killed someone? No. His eyes held hers. It bothers me that you had to. But I'm proud you survived. I'm becoming like you. No. He kissed her forehead. You're becoming who you need to be to survive beside me. That's different. Naomi wasn't sure she believed him, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She'd chosen this world. She'd chosen Dante, and she'd fight like hell to keep them both. 3 months later, spring arrived in Manhattan. Naomi stood in the penthouse overlooking the city, watching snow melt into memory. Her shoulder had healed. The nightmares came less frequently now. Dante's arms circled her waist from behind. What are you thinking? That I don't recognize my life anymore. Regret? No. She turned in his embrace. Wonder. Her mother was in a better facility now. Private care, specialists, dignity. Naomi visited twice a week. Sometimes her mother remembered her. Sometimes she didn't. But she was safe, comfortable, and that was everything. Naomi had enrolled at Columbia, finishing her interrupted degree. Art history by day, Mafia girlfriend by night. The duality was surreal, but Dante was changing too. He'd taken over several of his father's operations, restructuring them with brutal efficiency. The violence didn't disappear, it couldn't. Not in their world, but it became more strategic, less random. I want to build something legitimate, he'd told her. Something our children won't have to apologize for. Our children, the phrase had stolen her breath. Now, months later, they were laying foundations. Moretti Industries' import-export becoming real, legitimate trade, investments in real estate, technology, art, money laundering in reverse, cleaning their wealth until it shone. Salvatore had been skeptical. You think you can just walk away from what we are? No, Dante had replied, but I can build something new alongside it. The families watched with interest. Some approved the modernization. Others saw weakness, opportunity. Threats came regularly. Twice, attempts were made on Naomi's life. Twice, Dante's response was swift, brutal, absolute. They're testing us, Luca said after the second attempt. Seeing if you'll break. Then they'll learn I don't break, Dante replied. I shatter anyone who threatens what's mine. Naomi learned to live with security bodyguards, shadowing her movements, bulletproof cars, safe houses, memorized. She learned to read a room for threats, to trust her instincts, to carry the weight of being loved by a dangerous man. She also learned to love harder than she'd ever imagined. Dante was gentle with her in ways that contradicted everything he was to the world. He memorized how she took her coffee. He learned which paintings made her cry. He held her through nightmares about gunfire and blood. He was building her a life, yes, but she was rebuilding him too. I want to meet your mother, Isabella said one afternoon over lunch. Naomi's fork froze halfway to her mouth. What? Your mother. I'd like to meet her. She has Alzheimer's. She won't remember you. That's all right. Isabella's gaze was unexpectedly warm. I want her to know her daughter is loved by my family. The visit was surreal. Isabella Moretti in a care facility, elegant and gracious, speaking softly to a woman who thought she was somewhere else entirely. Naomi's mother smiled at Isabella. You have kind eyes. Isabella's composure cracked, just for a moment. Thank you. Walking out, Isabella linked her arm through Naomi's. Your mother raised someone extraordinary. That deserves recognition. Naomi blinked back tears. Thank you. Welcome to the family, Naomi. Truly. The proposal came on a warm May evening. Dante had taken her to a private rooftop garden, roses in bloom, the city glittering below, jazz drifting from hidden speakers. Naomi Carter, he said, dropping to one knee, a ring glinting in his hand. You've survived bullets, met my family, and somehow still love me. Will you marry me? She laughed through tears. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. Is that a yes? Yes, you impossible man. Yes. The ring was perfect, simple, elegant. A diamond that caught light like captured starfire. They married in summer. Small ceremony. Immediate family only. Salvatore gave her away with gruff pride. Isabella cried. Luca made inappropriate jokes. Gianna caught the bouquet. Dante's vows were simple. I will love you until my last breath. I will protect you with my last bullet. I will build you a world where you're safe, happy, and free. Naomi's were simpler. I'm yours, Dante Moretti. Forever. The reception was opulent chaos family, allies, power brokers celebrating the union, but the best moment came later, alone in their suite, Dante carefully removing her veil. Mrs. Moretti, he murmured. Mr. Moretti, how does it feel? Like coming home. He kissed her with everything he had, love, possession, promise. Thank you, he whispered against her lips. For what? For saving me. You saved me first. Then we're even. They weren't, and they both knew it. They'd saved each other. 5 years later, Naomi stood in the penthouse, holding their daughter 3 years old, dark hair like Dante's, eyes like starlight. Mama, tell the story, Isabella, named for her grandmother, demanded. Which story, baby? How you met Papa? Naomi smiled. Once upon a time, a very dangerous man walked into a room and changed everything. Dante appeared in the doorway, suit jacket slung over his shoulder, exhaustion and love written across his face. Are you telling our daughter the sanitized version? She's 3. She gets the fairy tale. Fair enough. He crossed to them, pressing a kiss to Naomi's temple, then scooping up their daughter. Did Mama tell you about the part where she was very, very brave? No. Well then, let me tell you. Later, after Isabella was asleep, they stood together watching the city. Salvatore is stepping down next month, Dante said quietly. It's official. I'll take over. Naomi's hand found his. Are you ready? With you beside me? Yes. The empire had transformed under their influence. Still powerful, still dangerous, but tempered now with strategy, legitimacy, and something that looked almost like honor. Naomi had finished her degree, then her doctorate. She now consulted for museums, authenticating pieces, building a career separate from Dante's world, but connected to it too, because she'd learned that being Dante Moretti's wife meant balancing light and darkness. "Do you ever regret it?" Dante asked, saying yes that first night. Naomi turned to him. This beautiful, broken, dangerous man who'd claimed her heart in a penthouse 5 years ago. "Never," she said. "You? Not for a second." He pulled her close. "You were supposed to be temporary, and instead, you became my forever." They kissed as the city glittered below two people who'd found each other in darkness and built something brilliant together. The Italian Mafia boss had hired a waitress for Christmas, but she'd claimed his heart, and in the end, that was the most dangerous thing of all. Years later, when Isabella Moretti, their daughter, asked her parents how they fell in love, they told her the truth. "We survived each other, and then we chose each other, every day since, because that's what love is in a world built on blood and power. It's choosing forever, knowing the cost, and paying it gladly. It's claiming each other, and never letting go."